On this week's installment of the Movie Reviewers 100, we'll explore the notion of using black and white photography and/or black and white presentation in contemporary films where it is no longer necessary to do so. My name is Scott, also known as Cineram. I do the Thursday reviews for this collaboration channel. Good evening. Hey everyone, welcome back. So Good Night and Good Luck was a Best Picture nominee that came out in 2005 and ranked in my top 5 of that year, actually. I would say that it was the most well-made movie of the year, meaning it had the fewest number of flaws that I could spot. But there are films that I liked a little bit more than that, despite their, errors here and there. And so it wasn't like number 1 or anything like that. It was pretty high up there. I would have really liked to see Brokeback Mountain win Best Picture that year, but I would have been happy to see Good Night and Good Luck get it. But neither got it. It went to Crash instead. This was the second film that was directed by George Clooney, and like his first film, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, it also concerned people who make television programming. In Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, it was about Chuck Barris, who created The Dating Game and The Gong Show, and this one is set earlier than that. The main character is Edward R. Murrow, played by David Strathairn, who was a radio newscaster and then moved into television in the 50s. And in 1953, 60 years ago this year, he waged a televised war against the infamous Senator Joe McCarthy, the junior senator from Wisconsin, as he regularly referred to him. He was the host of a program called See It Now, which explored, various relevant topics that he felt were really important to keep the American public informed on. Joe McCarthy, as you probably know, was a big proponent of getting all the communist menace out of the United States, even when there was none to be had. His campaign was, scare tactics, basically, threatening people with, deporting them or putting them in prison or making them impossible for them to find work, and their relatives and their friends, anyone associated with them, if they have even the slightest little bit of communism or association with communism in their past, is a scary time in the United States. And Edward R. Murrow would have none of it. He and his producer, Fred Friendly, who's played by George Clooney in the film, sought out an Air Force captain named Milo Radulovich for one of the programs and talked about how he had been thrown out of the Air Force as a potential security risk, even though neither he nor his lawyer nor anyone really knew what he was specifically charged with. All that was really known is that his father had some association with people who were communists or had some possible communist sympathies. And in his interview, Radulovich, for the show, he says, "Are my children going to be judged on what I've done just as I was judged on what my father has done?" And this is a chain reaction I don't see any end to. One of the interesting things about this movie is that it's very, very, very small scale. Despite the star power involved, Robert Downey Jr. has a supporting part. Jeff Daniels and Frank Langella have major supporting roles. This movie really only takes place in 3 locations. There's the television studio itself, which is in their offices and everything like that at CBS. Then you have the apartments of one of the people working on the show. Robert Downey Jr. and Patricia Clarkson both work on the show, and they're a married couple. So you see them at their home on a couple of scenes. And there's also a restaurant and bar nearby where they hang out on occasion. But everything else takes place entirely at the studio. And the footage that you see in the show itself, when you see footage of Radulovich or the other people who they interview, and particularly, of course, Joe McCarthy, that's all archival footage. That's actual real footage of those people. I read that when they test screened the movie, some people complained about the actor playing Joe McCarthy, say they didn't like him very much. He was too over the top. But that was the real Joe McCarthy in the movie. So yeah, it's a modestly scaled picture, but and very formal too. The newspaper reviews talk about how exciting the show is, and really it's just a bunch of interviews. But it's daring for its time, and the movie is appropriately small scale. Basically, you've got David Strathairn just sitting like just a few feet in front of the camera, just the way I am, and his producer taps him on the leg with a pen to let him know when to start speaking and what have you. And also this sort of small scale applies to the use of black and white as well. I was thinking recently about how black and white is rarely used in films, mostly as a stylistic device now. Rather than, there's no real need for it anymore. In the 90s, you had a bunch of movies that were made by independent, low-budget means, and a lot of them by first-time directors like Darren Aronofsky and Kevin Smith and Rose Troach and who's Jim Jarmusch, directed Strangers in Paradise. Just several movies that were sort of a debut for their director were shot in black and white, primarily because of budgetary reasons, because 60mm black and white film was less expensive to shoot on and process than color film. Of course, now with HD cameras, the high-definition cameras that anyone can use, it's possible to make a good-looking movie on the cheap and still shoot it in color. So using black and white now is pretty much exclusively a stylistic choice. It's no longer necessary under any circumstances, unless you've absolutely got to shoot on film, in which case you might end up shooting, on black and white 16mm if your budget's that low. But it makes more financial sense to use HD cameras because they're cheaper, they're easier to use, and you can convert it to black and white, just like Joss Whedon did this year when he released Much Ado About Nothing, which he used digital cameras for and shot it in just like 2 weeks. There's another movie that came out this year called Frances Ha. It was directed by Noah Baumbach, and it's in black and white. I believe that he shot it on film, but the choice to use black and white was basically because he wanted to sort of have a retro feel to it, and he also wanted to pay tribute to Woody Allen's film Manhattan, which takes place in New York City, obviously like Frances Ha, and was also shot in black and white. Now in this case, you have a lot of, the television broadcasts were all in black and white. Any filming done, on a small scale was done in black and white. I believe color film was being introduced around this time. Obviously, you had The Wizard of Oz come out in 1939 that had a great deal of color in it. So color was available to use, but by and large, black and white was still being used on television because it was such a new medium. So Clooney decided to shoot the movie in black and white to give it that period feel, much the same way that Spielberg shot Schindler's List in black and white, and the Best Picture winner from a couple years ago, The Artist, was not only shot in black and white but also shot on a square, just like the old silent Hollywood movies. So yeah, it's an interesting choice, and it looks nice, but most people, some people can't tolerate it. Actually, I have a friend of mine who can't actually watch black and white because it puts her to sleep. She literally cannot watch the big fight scene at the center of Kill Bill Volume 1, despite that it's really exciting because it's in black and white. She just can't keep her eyes open, which is a strange phenomenon. I don't understand why that is, but it's not for everyone, just the same way that subtitles aren't for everyone. They can't read and watch the movie at the same time, what have you. A lot of us film fans are intolerant of people who can't watch black and white movies or don't want to watch subtitles. But again, it's not for everyone. Some people just need that. Some people just need the color. They need to be able to hear the dialogue and understand English, what have you. That's how it is. A lot of American movies are dubbed into whatever language the countries are being shipped over to, so it's not like we can all be snobs about it. If they're okay with it, then why can't we be? But a lot of people really like to hear the language and read the subtitles. It's a thing. Some people need it, some people don't. But the same is true with black and white as well, because in certain foreign markets they won't accept black and white movies. The Coen brothers shot their 2001 picture, The Man Who Wasn't There, in color, because they knew that they wouldn't be able to distribute it in certain foreign countries unless it was in color. They wouldn't accept a black and white movie. So they shot it in color and then, used a post-production process to turn it into black and white, in much the same way they turned Oh Brother, Where Art Thou from straight color into sort of a sepia yellowish tone a year earlier. So yeah, it's there's some stumbling blocks there, but black and white isn't dead. It's just used sparingly. And then of course you've got certain directors who will shoot black and white scenes. Not all of it in color. Oliver Stone, of course, has used black and white footage in movies like JFK and Natural Born Killers and what have you as a stylistic thing, interspersed with color footage. Of course, in Memento, the Christopher Nolan film, he shot all of his flashback scenes in black and white. He shot about half the movie in black and white, the rest in color to denote, the difference between the sequencing. But anyway, back to Good Night and Good Luck. It's a terrific movie, very, very dialogue-driven, but compelling, lots of good acting, and I love David Strathairn, of course, so that's always fun. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again with a new theme on Friday.